This is the T.A.R. Life Podcast from Team Anderson Realty.
Thank you for having us. We are here, T.A.R. Life, with Dorrie Buccafusca. She is with Simple Southern Charm. She does interior designing. You do staging. Is there anything else that you do, kind of selections for people?
Selection services, paint consultations,
Awesome.
anything in that umbrella.
Yes. We have Latrice with Team Anderson Realty. She's one of our top agents. And we also have Jennifer Stewart.
Hello.
She is our co-host for the day. And she's no stranger to the T.A.R. Life podcast. We're going to start by talking about, and feel free to ask any questions that you guys might have, but we did a T.A.R. adventure, and we went to Utah, but then we jumped down to Arizona, and we went to Sedona kind of on a whim, and we went to the Grand Canyon. And the funny thing about the Grand Canyon is Jennifer looks up the weather on the way there, and she's like, yeah, there's going to be like snow. And I'm like, oh, we were just in Utah, and I have snow boots, although it probably wouldn't have even helped anyways. And we, what do we call ourselves?
I don't know.
What's our style when we're traveling?
If you might die, then we're going to do it.
No, we call ourselves wingers. We're not swingers, not like that way, but we're wingers.
What's a winger?
We just wing
We just
shit.
wing it.
Just wing it.
Yeah.
You just wing it.
So I was in Utah with them, and they went from Utah to Arizona. I flew back to North Carolina for 3 days, and then I flew back out to Arizona to meet them. So I unpacked my bag and packed a bag for Arizona. I didn't have snow stuff.
No, we did tell her it was going to be freezing.
Yeah, but I didn't
and to bring a jacket.
You don't think of
Let's hike in the
that,
snow
right.
at the Grand
She
Canyon.
comes back and she has like a little rain jacket, and I'm like, it's like a high of 40 with snow in the Grand Canyon.
At night.
Kind of.
I didn't know I was going to the Grand Canyon with snow.
So anyways,
That's the way to wing
we
it.
pull up to the Grand Canyon, and we are like totally unprepared for this, and we both are wearing nobles.
Yeah, on the way there, I'm trying to find like a really cool trail for us to take, and I'm reading like people who had been there like the day before had left comments and stuff, and they were like, yeah, my small spikes worked really well on this trail with all the snow. And I'm like, Erica, we might need to like rethink this. And she's like, no, we're wingers.
We're just gonna
Let's
die
just
in
go.
the Grand Canyon.
So she ice skated down the Grand Canyon in
Yeah.
her Red Bulls.
And the
her
nobles
nobles.
have zero traction. They're weightlifting shoes. And we didn't make it as far down, but this is the best part. So we found a beautiful area to take pictures, and there were some Asian tourists. They were men, and they had like professional cameras, but also like cell phones. And I'm thinking that they're taking pictures of the Grand Canyon. So I'm going crazy, like taking pictures. Mel and Jennifer are like taking my picture, and I turn around. And Jennifer describes it as the paparazzi.
Yeah. They were all lined up. Some were on their knees. Some were like taken from this angle.
Yes. But here's the funny thing is they didn't even offer to give me any pictures.
No way.
I don't think
Yeah.
they really spoke English.
No, they didn't. But they were like, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, that's all they would say.
I felt like a movie star in the Grand
Oh my
Canyon.
goodness.
But I turned around.
You're
I
famous.
turned around and I'm just like, and then the guy's like, pose.
No
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah. Like, I was
Like you really
Yeah.
get into it.
okay, here's my pose. But it was hilarious. And we also found a cliffside. My dad was like, if there's anything, he told Jennifer, he's like, anything you guys do, don't do. What did he say?
He's like, don't die trying to get that perfect shot, like hanging off the side
Hanging
of
off
the
the
cliff.
cliff.
Said that to her.
To me.
Oh, good.
So
Because-
we took a picture like this far off the cliff with snow. We're sliding a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
I had to.
Are there
Absolutely.
railings?
I was very
Like,
careful.
I
No.
like, is
No,
there
we
just-
went
open
like
as
off
this.
trail and found a
there's
spot.
sections with like railings though.
Not
no?
really.
Really?
Well, there are. We didn't go to any of those places, of
course not. Of course.
No.
not.
If you can't die. I mean,
Exactly.
Why try?
yeah, like
If
what?
you can't die, we
That's
don't
a good
do
motto.
it.
I think that should be the new motto. If you can't die, why try?
Right? It's boring. Snooze. Too safe. No, I don't want to die. And I'm very like, careful
at the
in what I
cusp
do.
of-
Yeah,
But
but
you
I
live on the edge.
I want to live on the
Literally.
edge. Yeah, because I feel like you experience
You
life.
put
Well,
the
look at
true
Latrice.
meaning
She
to
traveled to Mexico
YOLO.
by
Yeah.
herself,
I did.
which I think
had
is
an
so inspiring.
Amazing time. Amazing time. I would recommend it.
By
At least take one
herself,
trip by
woman,
yourself. No kids, no
No kids, no
husband,
nothing.
How long?
limited phone. I did, oh goodness, maybe 5 nights.
That's a lot.
It was.
That's a lot.
Got
To not know anyone and just
no,
be on your
meet
own.
the culture.
Did you
hang
do
out
any
with the
crazy excursions when you were there?
Let me think. It's so long ago.
It's time for another trip,
Yeah.
Latrice.
It really is. It really is.
So long ago. What?
I know. Go
to
for
Mexico
myself. So, like to be
tomorrow.
by myself. It's been a while. I can't think of anything like really crazy. I think a lot of people felt not necessarily sorry for me, but they took me. They gravitated to me more because they saw that I was by myself, and it's like an Arabian Night type of dinner vibe, and they're like, "Oh, come join us." I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to, but okay. Like I'm really in my zone.
I love
But
it. You're like,
it
I'm
turned out
introverted on this trip,
Yeah.
but soaking it up.
We
Like
did
you need that
ATVs through
sometimes.
the
Though, like you need that
mountains,
like
so, yeah.
reset.
Dorrie, this whole podcast is about you.
Oh goodness. No pressure.
No pressure. Tell us. So we were in, I would say, you probably saw a shift when we had the crazy housing boom where sellers were selling their homes before the signs went in the yard. So I'm assuming at that point you saw a drop off in staging consultations, staging appointments, and whatnot. What are you seeing now since it's changed significantly?
It changed significantly. There was definitely a shift, and the business just changed completely. It was, I would say, probably equal 50-50 decorating and design and then staging. And when the pandemic hit, there was a little bit of a gap when things slowed down and we started doing things. All the appointments were virtual, which was interesting and took a little bit of kind of adjusting. I was still busy. And then people started sitting with the fact that like we're stuck at home. And it became lots and lots of design. People just sitting there staring at their four walls, kind of diagnosing like, I hate this, I don't like this. Why haven't I ever changed this? So it became very, very design side heavy for sure. Now we're seeing a shift, and we're definitely seeing a transition back to staging. I mean, the reality of the situation is when the pandemic first hit, I was called into a staging consultation with an agent that I work with very often. The client did not really do many of the recommendations, and the house still went $40,000 over asking. And when I, like, very, very minimal in terms of recommendations, because they knew that the market just didn't require them to do anything. They could sell the house in substandard condition and they would still get over asking because people were desperate.
Gone are those days.
It's very different now. Yeah, it's very, very different now. And I think it's a good thing. Honestly, at the end of the day, I always kind of feel like when I do my staging consultations, it's kind of like being on camera, right? You want to put your best face forward. The first line of interaction is going to be what people see online. It's your pictures. If you can't win a prospective buyer with photos, you're never going to get them to come through the front door. So it's important. They want to see.
Well, and isn't it so much better instead of virtual staging to actually have the house appear as it looks in pictures? I know occasionally virtual staging can be helpful, but for the most part, people I know, I used to know agents that would stage, take pictures, and then pull all the staging out, or just do only virtual staging, and it doesn't show.
From a psychological standpoint, studies have proven that a buyer wants to see the same thing online and in person, just because when you don't, there's a disconnection. It's like, maybe there was a really great table that resonated with a prospective buyer, and they walk in and they're like, where the heck is that amazing table? So it creates confusion for the buyer. I used to do hybrid, so I would do some accessory staging, built-ins and kitchen counters and artwork and stuff like that, and then backfill with virtual staging, which seemed to do really well because there were some things that still resonated from the photo.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, but I do
But
think,
when it's a vacant home and there's only virtual staging, I think that is something that doesn't work the way that it does. If you put some key
pieces.
pieces
Like
of art,
accessories.
a little accessory, and then they can, like you said, connect with those items that they see.
Yeah.
Or just make the house present well as a vacant property, right? I mean, paint color is important.
It is. There's a big difference, and I always tell people, if at the end of the day, right, it is very budget specific. What is your budget? Either you've got some money, no money, or you're kind of in between. If we've got to work with what the client has to work with, which is kind of what I do. That's my area of expertise. I go in and work with clients using what they already own. I'll make some suggestions on artwork, or if we've got to do cosmetic improvements and things like that. That's kind of my area. But it's always better to have the implication of a lifestyle, the implication of a look and a feel and a vibe. It just is. Otherwise, all you see is naked. It's a naked house, and there's that echo, there's that reverb when you're talking, and it just doesn't feel quite as warm.
What are you seeing in terms of paint colors? So we were with the grays for a long period of time. What are you seeing now?
15 years. I think we're like 14 or 15 years on gray. I think people are so tired of the gray now that we had, like, white had its moment for about 2 years. I'm still getting calls for white. The fact of the matter is, on white, nobody ever wants white paint. Nobody ever says, hey, I really want a stark feel in my house. They just don't. They think that they want white, but what they really want is something that's different than gray.
Yeah.
So we're definitely, I'm seeing a shift back to color. I'm seeing a significant shift back to color, not
Like
necessarily
greens.
jewel tones, greens.
Jewel. I love jewel
greens,
tones.
navy blues. Like, I'm doing a lot of color. I just did
Like in full rooms or like
Yes.
bedrooms or just like a
no, like, I just specified
Picture wall.
Sherwin-Williams artichoke for an entire living room, kitchen, pantry area.
Wow.
And it's a yummy green. It's a good green. It is a really
I love
good
When I do my
artichokes.
showings, I get a lot of clients that don't necessarily want to come in and have to paint. So when they go in and they have these vibrant colors like
Yeah.
a dark pink or a dark green or something to that nature, they're like, oh, how many coats of paint do I need to get?
So it's
tone this
different.
down?
It's different. And I always like to kind of let people know, when your house is going on the market, it's no longer your home. It's no longer specific to you. There's a very big difference. Two sides of the same coin. Staging and decorating, right? Decorating is for yourself. Decorating is so personal, and you can do whatever you want. You can have rainbow bright colors on your walls. When you're staging, you're trying to throw that net and cast it really, really wide to appeal to a large demographic of interested buyers. And so I will always go in, especially in primary living spaces, and let people know, listen, we've got this, yellow in specific. Yellow, statistically speaking, will, in the past, yield a reduced offer. It just, yellow and red for some reason.
Yeah, well, red especially.
Yeah, yellow
Red's
and red.
like an angry color, but like,
a
cocoa
tough color
rose is
to-
a nice one. When
It's a
it's
tough
got
color
some
to
like
cover.
brown red, I
Yeah.
like that.
I've been
like a
doing a lot of
burnt orangey.
terracotta.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of terracotta colors too. But for
Yep, like a Spanish
for,
feel.
For staging, I'm still making recommendations.
Are you
for people
seeing
to paint.
island colors still being different than primary cabinets, or are you seeing that being more cohesive?
It's still a thing. It's definitely still a thing. I have seen a shift from the tuxedo look, where the top surround cabinets were like a white, and the
What's your
bottoms.
preference on cabinets?
It's a tough question because I love color. I am not a neutral person. I just like color. I like white because white is classic and timeless. I do really love a nice wood cabinet, though. Just depends on the color wood. I like something that's classic and classic and timeless in terms of options. I don't like cherries that go like more wine looking
Yeah.
or very, very cherry. Something that's like a medium tone, a little bit ashy.
I
with
like
a white
those. Yeah.
white quartz countertops or white Carrara marble. It's just beautiful, and it's never going to date itself. I think more
That's
important
true.
is the style too
yeah.
of the cabinet.
What would you do as a decorator? Like, let's say somebody collects a lot of stones or minerals or something like that. How do you, because I love them in my house.
Same.
And I incorporate them like in my bookshelf, and it's pretty sparingly, but it kind of becomes, there's a lot that accumulates.
Yeah.
And so how do you recommend that people have their cathedrals or their mineral specimens or just their stones in general? How do you display those without it looking like cluttery?
Like a bunch of
Yeah.
tchotchkes. So I have a lot of those types of things. I'm in love with like the little hearts.
Yeah.
I get from like Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, these little glass boxes, and they're banded in gold. The lids lift open, and then there's a mirror at the bottom. So I put collections into these little boxes so that they're compartmentalized. I like to intersperse them with other things. So I like to have books in my bookshelves. I like to have,
too.
you know, pictures and plants and things like that. So I'm very, very strategic. I color block a lot also, so that if I've got an area of the bookshelf that has green, I like to do a little bit of green with green or blue with blue. I'm also a big fan of like keeping things in a bookshelf that is a tiny bookshelf that's all just, you know, whatever you've got collections of. I have people that have Swarovski crystals or, you know, dolls and things like that. Now
Dolls.
I
like
feel
dolls.
like that. Some people feel like that's a creepy thing, or like,
I mean, I don't
think they're watching you.
Yeah, well, that's why all the better to keep a doll room.
These things are watching you at night.
Behind. Yeah, I definitely like. I'll place things very strategically throughout my own home and even in clients' homes if there are specific things that they collect. A lot of clients who like pottery. And sometimes it makes a really big impact when you have just a shelf that is all varying size pottery, small, varying heights, varying widths. It just looks really amazing and makes such a stunning impact. Or, you know, interspersing it piece by piece so
Can you
that
put some dolls and display those?
No, I've never done a doll display. I don't know that I would be very good at that. To be honest, I can do bookshelves like no one's business, but
You're like, I can do
dolls-
pottery, I can do Swarovski, I can do
all of
minerals.
that. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
books.
But
I can do dolls, but I can't
I
display
don't
them
want
that well.
to do doll. I don't want to do them.
You're like,
might
here's a
creep me out.
closet. We're gonna make this closet
Let's put
beautiful.
it- Did you ever see that picture, that Zillow? There was that Zillow picture that was viral. That was like a whole house. all
Yeah,
filled
did
with
they have
dolls.
a huge one? They had like a
Yes.
mannequin.
It was like a
Yeah,
human-sized
that was
doll. That was-
amazing. I wanted to
Really?
spend
I
the
just-
night there and see if they're
Oh
piercing
my
my
gosh.
head.
That's right up your alley.
Eyes glaring at you at night.
I'll be like, okay, this gives a vibe.
A creepy vibe. Like I got to sleep with one eye open.
Yeah.
No way.
No, absolutely. What is the wildest home, like you, like just specifically, like a lot of wallpaper, like that you have transformed?
So, oh gosh.
Like maybe they bought the house and it was just
The wildest home, so it wasn't actually a design or decorating project. It was a staging project, and they had a, oh gosh, like a parkour, kind of like an obstacle course in their attic, and it was Ninja Warrior. Like they
Oh,
had,
yeah.
it was
Oh.
really
My son
cool.
would
It was,
love that.
Yeah, it was in their attic. That was the most interesting. I've seen a lot though. Like,
Did you just leave that? I mean, it's in the
we just-
attic.
yeah, we had no choice.
Yeah.
Like there was no budget to remove it, and it was. I mean, I'm not talking like a little hint. It was a lot. It was a lot. It would have been an awful lot to remove.
That
it.
could
So
add
we-
value.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the
Right?
right
Absolutely.
person.
I mean,
I've been in a house like
fixture.
that before.
yeah,
Send your children to the attic where they belong.
yeah.
Ninja Warrior it.
But
Oh, that's interesting.
That's probably one of them. I've seen a lot of stuff. I'm sure.
Are you
like
seeing wallpaper coming back?
Yes, but I'm doing a lot. I love wallpaper. I'm doing
too.
a lot of wallpaper.
Do you not love the alligator wallpaper?
I love I love anything
Texture?
animal print,
Yeah.
textured. I'm like very big into cheetah and not so much zebra, but cheetah, antelope.
Zebra,
like,
I feel like could be.
it could be a lot.
overwhelming,
It looks
yeah.
great on pillows. I have 2 really beautiful chenille zebra pillows in my house that I love, but on a wall it could be a lot. But you know, sometimes you need extra. Sometimes I feel like you need that little.
Yeah.
moment.
I feel like half baths you can go crazy in and it's still
can.
really cool.
Yeah, I mean, half baths, any spaces that are not primary living, I feel like sky's the limit. Like you want to do green, do green. You want to do wallpaper on the ceiling, it's just wallpaper and it's just paint. It can
And if
always
it's
be taken
done
down.
well, that's
Yeah.
the key, right?
Yeah.
Because you can do wallpaper where it's not good and it's not installed correctly.
Yeah.
And then it just looks cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. I mean, especially, I think a lot of people that connect with me on wallpaper think that they want grass cloth. And that's a request that I get all the time until they realize grass cloth is not like other wallpapers and that there's no pattern repetition, so you can't line them up. So you're always going to wind up with these stripes of grass cloth on your walls. And you have to either love that look or be okay with, you know, that kind of stripey
It's very
vibe.
expensive too.
It
The good
is.
quality
It
grass
is.
cloth is.
It is. It's not inexpensive. Most of the time, I'm getting requests now for peel and stick, which is interesting. And installers hate to work with it. They do not like peel and stick.
Really?
It's
So when
Does
somebody
it not
comes,
hold up? I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
So does it not hold up as well? Or
It's so with regular wallpaper, right? When you paste it and put it on the wall, you can maneuver it and make it do what you want. With peel and stick, it's like you've got to put it up, and then if it's not right, you've got to take it down. It's more fussy and much less forgiving, which is why I think that they don't like it.
When somebody comes in and they're doing a design consultation or they're doing something that revolves around renovating their property prior to listing it, do you have recommended vendors that you connect them with so that you can guide them along the process? Because wallpaper installation is very hard to find competent people to do that.
It is, and I do. I have people that I've worked with for years and years and years that I recommend. They're really hard. The wallpaper industry it's blown up, and it's almost impossible to get even people that you have used for a really long time. Sometimes takes a hot minute for them to get back to you, which can feel really...
is there still the trend of people painting the wallpaper? Say, for instance, they don't want to deal with the hassle of removing it. Like, I like the style of it or the texture. I just want a different color per se.
That's an interesting point.
So they still make that style wallpaper. I have not specified it. In full disclosure, I haven't. So yeah, you can, and people still do it. I'm kind of team. They tend to be picky. Do you remember old school puff paints that you would put on a shirt and then iron and they puff up? They tend to be that kind of vibe. And so I can say from experience, when I was a kid, my parents had that wallpaper in the bathroom. And all of us kids used to pick at the wallpaper. So there was this naked spot of puff paint on the wallpaper. So I tend not to specify it very often, just because it's pickable, it's picky. So with that, not so much, but I am doing a lot of consultations where people have had old style wallpaper that they just don't want to pay. They're selling their houses, they don't want to pay to get it removed. And so that can be a little bit, that can be different to kind of work with, because there are seams and there's sometimes raised pattern on those where we've got to find good people to skim coat it because they just don't want to pay the money to remove the wallpaper.
What's your favorite? Have you seen now these are like level 20 granites and whatnot, but have you seen the agate quartz and granite? Oh my gosh. And have you seen have you seen Latrice where they light it up? They light up your countertop.
No.
Yeah, they use they use, I forgot what was it? What are those lamps made out of? Alabaster.
Yeah.
There's alabaster. There is this agate where there's chunks of just agate within the material. Absolutely. I've seen it, the backsplash and the countertops light up before.
I've seen the backsplash light up before, but I've seen the counters light up. I love that kind of look, but it's very, very specific. And I think probably your average home buyer is not going to go with that kind of a specific
I think they would,
vibe.
but I feel like it's so expensive, you said.
It's the level, anything past like a level 6, 7 is...
And 6, 7 is still very
it's
expensive.
still high.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still, your Colacata Gold usually is like a 6, 7, and that's kind of I would say an upper middle of the road quartz, and it's still expensive. So imagine something like that.
Oh, I can imagine.
I'm sure you've done lots of renovations. I'm sure you.
Well, I can imagine, but I have not done it.
Not yet. Wait until you get
imagine.
that mountain house.
Oh, I already have one. I got the Lake Mountain. Well, it's Lake Mountain.
I thought you were going to get like a skiing mountain house.
Well, Mel got that. I've stopped. I'm done renovating because I have the beach,
Oh, that's
the lake,
right. That's right.
rental property,
The beach turned out great.
farm, a 10-acre farm.
What?
Yeah. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I stopped. I went through a hoarding phase of properties.
So do you Airbnb all of them?
No, I just hoard them.
Safekeeping.
The beach house. Yeah, the beach house.
Yeah.
I probably should, because those are expensive.
Yeah.
But right now we
Especially
need
the
to
beach and the
renovate the
lake.
boathouse, and we'll probably Airbnb that at the lake so that it's separate living quarters.
Oh, nice.
So that we don't, because I have like ridiculously expensive like carpet that's deer print, and I don't really want to just have random people
Yeah.
in the main house. I know, it really
It's
is.
tough. I have a client who is actually a very, very dear friend of mine, and I've done a couple of her Airbnbs with her, and she is dealing with rings that somebody didn't put a coaster down. It's like it's not their house.
So
It's really
I always
tough
do
to-
glass.
Yeah.
So unless it's a table that's inexpensive, I
Yeah.
do materials where it's glass because my dad taught me
Less
well.
maintenance.
Everything
Yeah.
should have glass on it unless it is an inexpensive
Yeah.
piece of furniture and you're
Like
expecting.
that lacquer where you could just easily wipe
Yeah,
off.
yeah, but they do not care. And the beach too, the salt air, they leave that door open. It is corrosive.
The wear and tear. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. It can do some damage.
So
for
will
sure.
you go and do somebody's beach property or virtually or
Yeah, you travel pretty far?
I did a beach property in Florida on 30A.
did you go down there?
I did. I flew down there. She
Wow.
flew me down there, and it was amazing. And one of the most, I was exhausted. We were both so tired, but we were there for less than 2 days. We shopped. We picked out counters and paint colors and just so much. And just literally, it's like a blur because it happened so quickly. We had
What
been,
city was it?
not Destin. 30A. I don't know. I only know it as 30A. I don't know what.
But that Panhandle area.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Gosh, that's terrible that I don't know.
It's been a while,
There was a
right?
there was a driver who took me. They didn't have to do anything. It was great. It was so
Nice.
nice.
That's
It was
nice.
really nice. And but it's crazy too going to an area where you don't know and you're like, you've got to shop. You've got to find like where's the closest Home Goods. And that area is very, very affluent, and there were not many options for budget friendly things. Which sometimes in an Airbnb, if it's specifically, an Airbnb, you don't necessarily want to
No.
spend,
No. I went to
$4,000
Rooms to
on
Go.
a coffee table. Yeah,
I did. Now, I did have some key pieces at our beach house that are more expensive, but they're
Right.
things like coffee table with glass on it.
Yeah.
No problem. Like, that's going to
It
last.
has to be a balance. If
The
you're gonna-
backsplash in
yeah.
the kitchen, the quartz countertops,
if
stuff
it's
like
something
that.
that you're going to be there and you're going to enjoy it, there has to be. I think there have to be moments that you really love, but you also can't have, stuff that if somebody spills a cup of coffee on your sofa that you've spent a ton of
Leather
yeah.
sofas,
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah, something wipeable, cleanable,
Yeah.
easily. Performance fabrics, but leather is always a great option.
I just think, leather,
Yeah.
because they'll find a way. They will find a way. I mean, and at least leather, if you get a dark enough one,
Yeah.
it hides stuff. I mean, until it starts ripping or tearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, because I did Rooms to Go and it was still expensive because 6 bedrooms.
Everything is expensive
Yeah.
though now. Price points of furniture have gone up exponentially.
Mattresses, we replaced those 70s mattresses.
Oh my god, that's with the coils breaking through. Like
Oh,
totally,
it felt like
yeah.
it. Yeah. I mean, but it's kind of amazing, like the longevity of 70s mattresses. I'm surprised it wasn't riddled with some types of bed bugs, or, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there's so many chemicals in it from the 70s that like things just don't live.
Yeah. I think with the Airbnbs, it's a balance. It's a balance. It's a balancing act. It has to be representative of you so that you want to go there and enjoy it and feel like
That's
it's
true.
catered
It's an
to your
extension of your
family.
personality,
It is.
even if it's budget friendly in terms of
for
decor.
sure.
The paint is probably a big one.
The paint's a huge one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny. Most of the time when I get called in, people are like, "Oh, help me pick my paint colors." But paint is always last for me.
Mm.
It is. It's always the last thing. There's always an idea of what you want to do, but by and large, it's usually the last or second to last thing that
I
we
will
select.
say, because when we do tile in the bathrooms, we do not pick the paint colors until we've done the tile, because that can be a huge limiting factor.
significant, and you never
Yeah.
ever want to create a look and a feel in a room based on a $60 can of paint. When your tile is the star of the show, it should have its moment.
Absolutely.
And the paint should kind of be like the supporting
Yes.
actor.
Yes.
I feel.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
So when you're doing, can they still do a virtual consultation with you
Yeah.
in person?
Yep. I still do
Awesome.
virtual. I do a lot of virtual design and a lot of virtual decorating. Which
And
is
you use boards? So that people-
I do. We'll screen share and I will curate with them on the computer.
that.
Just it makes it a little bit easier. I feel like it's such a visual experience. It's really difficult to say, go and get this, go and that. I'll show you exactly what I mean so that you know and you can understand, why we want to repeat this color and why this is going to work and why that's not going to work. So I still do.
How quickly can somebody get in with you for a consultation?
So I'm usually about a month to a month and a half
That's
out.
not bad.
I reserve space for staging just because I do. I've got a lot of agents that
That's
I've
true.
worked
We
with for a
can't
long
wait a
time.
month and a half
No,
for that.
you can't. In an ideal world, listen, we'd have all the time in the world and we can schedule things 3 months in advance. But the reality of our world with staging and real estate is, a person decides to move and they need to do it. It's go time. So I will reserve, spaces within the week.
When you have somebody that you're working closely with for design, do they text you directly? Do they have real time, or do you allot times, meetings? Because I know it can be overwhelming when you have a lot of clients.
So I need to get better with that. But yes, they do text me directly. It's kind of like you. I think we've had a discussion about this with you because I know you are so accessible to your clients all the time. And I think that's part of the experience and part of the reason that people trust you is because they know that they're going to be able to reach you. So I may not respond at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, but I always respond. They have my cell phone number. It just kind of depends on how we work together. Are we just doing a consultation or are we doing an extended service? I've really reshaped my business in that I do consultations and I do designer or decorator for a day. That's it. I don't do full service jobs anymore.
That's interesting.
It just makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much easier. Expectations are much, much easier to meet when it's not drawn out over a long period of time.
Have you had a project where it was like a hoarding episode? Like just lots of stuff?
So not a project, but several consults, yes.
Okay.
And those are tough. Those are really, really tough just because I feel like your approach with that person has to be so much more gentle, so much more, that sort of thing doesn't happen out of nowhere. And people are very, very, they're very protective about their things. So
Right.
it's a really tough road to navigate when you're kind of trying to tell people, listen, I hear your vision and I really want to help you make that happen, but we have to get rid of all of these things. If you say get rid of it, implies that there's no value.
Right.
So I kind of change my approach with them and say, listen, maybe we need to edit this a little bit and find a different home for these somewhere else in the house. But yeah, I've had those a couple of times. Do you see that a lot when you're going through like?
Not so much hoarding, but I would say uncleanliness sometimes.
Yeah.
Could be a hindrance.
I've seen a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
a lot of that too, which is surprising.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of feel like when I have people over my house, I'm like, everybody, all hands on
deck.
deck.
Exactly.
No, a lot of people.
I want to smell like bleach and
Yeah,
Clorox
exactly.
or
Bleach,
something.
Chemicals.
Fabuloso. Give me
Jennifer likes
something.
chemicals. You like the
Some
chemicals though?
Lysol or something.
Something.
I love it.
But I also,
Fresh.
I have a lot of clients that will connect with me specifically for staging, and they'll say, my house isn't ready. I can't schedule the appointment yet. And I let them know, like, I'm a safe space. You don't have to worry about me coming in and judging your situation, because the fact is we all have those. I have 5 kids and a dog. Like, it's your house is your house because you live in it. So if you can't prep and you can't, clean everything to the nines and make it look like it's ready to receive the queen, we can still do your consultation. It's not, it's a judgment-free zone. It's already like such a chaotic time when you're thinking about moving and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I need to have boxes to pack and what am I going to do with the kids' school? Like, nobody wants to invite somebody into their home and have a judgy hat on and feel like, oh my gosh, she's going to, talk crap about my entire house, which is never the experience. So
Have you ever recommended like a professional organizer come in to help them, or
Often.
like
Yeah.
have you turned down a job before because it was just like maybe they weren't
Overwhelming,
cooperating with you?
I've never turned down a job, but I've really struggled through a job.
Yeah,
Really struggled
sure.
through a couple of jobs where most of the time if we come in, we'll do photo prep, which happens on the day of pictures. And we specify that we really would like to come into a home that is fully prepared for it to go live at the end of the week, which usually means there's been significant professional cleaning done in some capacity. And I've walked into homes where that just has not happened, and it makes my job infinitely more difficult, But the organizers, I have a couple of organizers, one in specific that I recommend very, very frequently, that they're magical. They are magical. And it really does, like, honest to God, if there are things that you can do to lighten your load and help the moving and selling experience go a little bit more seamlessly, it's worth the money to do it. Hire a professional cleaner. I promise you, when you've got, 3 or 4 bathrooms, you're not going to be wanting to go and detail the
With a
molding
toothbrush.
And some people just don't have that attention to detail either.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I mean-
I think they overlook it to that point. They overlook the fact that just because it's not important to them does not mean that it's not going to be important to a
Or
prospective buyer.
because they don't have that eye doesn't mean that people don't have a different eye that
Right.
notice things that
notice
they
things,
don't
yeah.
even, they're not even aware of. And
Yeah.
it's not like to shame them, but it's just to kind of say it is better to have the person who is good at what they're doing, and that is cleaning a house.
Right.
If that's not your strength, if you don't enjoy that, then you shouldn't try to save a few dollars
Yeah.
by omitting that expense and trying to do it yourself. Because now if you're amazing at it, then have at it.
Right.
But I mean, it's just delegating your weaknesses and your strengths and giving the best performance
it's
before
freeing
it going
you up
live.
to do the thing that you are really good at. So if you listen, everybody's capable of cleaning. I'm capable.
I
of
don't
cleaning.
know.
I mean, most people are.
Like,
capable.
let's be real.
Especially if you have a list, it is possible. The thing is, right? You either hire a professional that can come in with a crew and do it in 3 hours, or you spend 2 full weeks getting
Yeah,
it.
and your hips
And by
hurting,
the time you
your
finish,
sciatic
it's
nerve.
the stuff you started on is dirty again.
Exactly. So I always kind of just let people know, especially with things like cleaning and painting, just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should. It doesn't mean that that's the best use of
Yeah,
your time.
painting too.
I
That's a
learned
big
that with
one.
painting.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
does not mean that it's the best
I'm
use of
not
your
good at it.
time. Pressure washing, if people are like, oh, I'll pressure
blow
wash
out
it
my window
myself. I'm like,
seals.
yeah, right.
Yeah. It
Like,
just
let's
cost
just
10
hire
grand.
somebody. Let's just hire somebody and go ahead and get it done. Because a lot of times, you're capable of pressure washing your driveway, but it winds up being stripy and it's not done the right way. So
Oh, it's again landscaping too.
landscaping is a big thing. People
Yeah.
don't realize, like, if they don't like what the house looks like on the outside, they are not going to
It's
go.
the
and look at
5-second rule, right?
Yeah,
They roll
Yeah.
up,
And I literally
within 5
just went
seconds.
through that.
Yeah.
It was like I knew this was going to be the and it's so random that it came back to them that we started with this house, and because the outside didn't look very appealing, like the grass weeds were
Yeah.
growing, it just didn't look like a
The
home.
one?
Yeah, like the one. So we did tours for like 5 others. Had an offer in on another. That one didn't work out, and it ultimately ended up being that one that we went back to.
Yeah.
He's like, initially, I just didn't love it. It's like the yard didn't look appealing.
I'm telling you. And in this market, while it's slower for sellers, you don't want anything to be an objection.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, anything.
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean, that's an objection.
I actually ask that to my clients so that they feel as though they kind of have a hand in things, right? So I'll walk in and we don't even sit down. We stand and kind of chit chat, and I will say, are there any things that you could think of that would be potential objections for prospective buyers walking in? And it really does make them kind of sit there and stew on, like, oh, is there something, like, maybe I should bring up that thing with the paint in the bathroom or that cracked tile. Like, these small things really make a big, big difference. And it is the difference between love at first sight or, love at fifth sight.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how many mortgage payments was that? 5 tours. I mean, probably
Yeah.
at least one mortgage payment when they could have spent $40, $50, $60 and mowed their lawn
Exactly.
and edged it,
Edged it a
maybe
little
added a
bit,
little
yeah.
mulch, and that could have saved them. They could have closed a month earlier.
Exactly.
Probably.
Simple things like that. Honestly, simple things like putting a fresh coat of paint on the front door, fresh coat of paint on the shutters. I have seen so many homes where the sun here is unforgiving. The top is completely faded and the bottom is the original color. Screens that need to be replaced for the exact reasons.
I get that too. A lot.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the bugs are in
like, how
the
can I
screened
open
in
windows?
area.
Yeah.
Yeah, the screens are.
They're like, I really love this screened in, and they're getting attacked.
Yeah, I mean, simple
Or like a
things
screen
that.
door. I know that's not like a common thing here in North Carolina, but
I
like
love a screen
or like a
door.
storm door or a screen
I do
door.
too. Yeah, I do too. But for that reason, I tell everybody screens out. Take the screens out. So when you have your house pressure washed, all the sills are getting done. The windows are getting cleaned. You
That's a good point.
and it just makes for such a nice, light, bright, uniform picture. versus green on the bottom if it's not a full screen.
You've helped a lot of people with the exterior paint colors too. I've seen some great transformations.
I love paints. I could talk about paint all day long.
How long does a typical consult
2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 hours.
And you do interior and exterior?
Depends
or
on
just depends
yeah,
on?
it kind of depends on what they need. If it's interior, it's usually just interior. If it's exterior, it's usually just exterior. And
Gotcha.
we, bring in our samples and do the whole thing, match to the stone, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. People have visions, though. When you walk into a house and drive up to a house and you're like, oh my gosh, I know this person really wants blue paint, but there's nothing at all that is going to be.
What a black house. I've seen it pulled off.
So I have strong opinions on the black houses, and I like black in moments, but I think by and large, I am not a fan of a fully black house.
How about when it's super modern?
When it's super modern and very, super modern and angular, I can dig it. I can really, I'm into it. I think there needs to be some moments of some warmth, because otherwise it just looks so flat. It's kind of like an all black kitchen, right? If you have a black countertops, a black backsplash, black cabinet, it's just
Feels dark, doesn't
there's
it?
no dimension.
I think it's called Black Magic.
Oh, the Sherwin-Williams.
Yeah.
I love black
Oh,
magic.
my doors are Black Magic
Yeah.
at the lake. Now my
so
interior
nice.
walls and exterior are not black, but I have a black roof, super dark gray exterior.
See,
black
super dark
doors.
gray.
I love it.
I mean, that is different than black, especially here. It's tough because it gets so hot and it just sucks that heat to it. I don't know if I would ever do like a true black on an entire exterior. I have done many black. I just did my son's bedroom in black, and it's awesome.
Is it amazing? Did you add lights?
I didn't.
I feel like a black bedroom for a child with some lighting would be amazing.
So he's a teenager. We did an accent wall in wallpaper, and it's just a whole vibe. It really is. It looks really, really cool. I was really unsure about it, but I've been in this phase, and so
What's your phase?
it's just this dark, moody phase. Like
I love it.
I had
Me too.
this. I wanted to paint our bedroom black, and my husband was like, "Yeah, I don't know how I feel
No,
about
I don't give my husband his, he doesn't get an opinion. Although my husband, when I told him I was going to do really dark inside the lake house, he's like, summon demons. And he's always joking with me. And I'm like, you're going to love it.
I know.
It's going to feel cozy.
It does.
It's like
feels-
a den.
And I
Yeah.
think so many people equate dark to it's going to feel closed in. It's going to feel smaller. It does not. It does not at all. It looks so good.
It
When I
really
think
does.
of blacks or dark tones, I think of a cigar bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
like
the vibe
Yes.
that I like, is that smoker's lounge, that old school, that you're in a cave, a cavern, you're
a wine
cozy,
cellar.
wine cellar.
Wine cellar,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're just you're in this moment, and it's so different that I think at our lake, the main areas, we made the ceilings dark gray too, because we wanted it to just feel all
like dark
encompassing.
Kind of like an
Yeah.
inside of a genie's bottle. It just
Yeah.
feels like it
Yeah.
envelops
hugs you.
Yeah, I love
It's a
that.
warm blanket.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel sterile and cold. Like if you have an all white, it's so funny because white is bright and light, but it can feel sterile. And the darker tones can really make you feel moody, but not moody in a bad way. We're not talking depression.
Just excite you. Yeah.
Moody
We're
is
talking
an
moody,
unexpected-
dynamic.
Yeah, it's like in an unexpected wow moment. way,
Yeah.
I feel. I love that. We did a house that I actually just saw in person from July, and we did this really dark navy blue, but not just on the walls. We took it to the windows, the sills, the moldings. It is stunning.
Is it?
She's got a beautiful Chesterfield. I mean, it just is a whole vibe.
I love it.
It just
I
looks
did
amazing.
navy in my kitchen, and my window seals are black.
I
love that.
So
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned navy and black. That has always been a no-no, and I've just heard now that black and navy blue in fashion are like a fashion do.
I've always been wearing black and navy. It
Yeah.
goes.
I've never.
See,
I've
I
never-
couldn't get into it.
I
So
couldn't
I can't
go
do it.
either.
Yeah, I feel
Really?
like
You're wearing black and blue right now.
it's
black
different.
and blue. It's
Yeah,
black
like a
and
blue
navy.
and navy.
Oh, that's
yeah.
true. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would look phenomenal.
So,
Yeah,
I
so
love it.
I'm just now getting into that vibe, but that's been like a I'm not sure how I feel about it.
If
And
it's
now-
done right, everything done right.
Yeah,
Things can be done wrong.
absolutely.
And so I think that's the difference.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think a lot of people with black, you remember like windows have had their moment, like I want black windows. Do you really like black is a commitment in design because
if it's
I feel
modern,
like,
I'm
I love
all
that
over that.
now, yeah.
yeah, I feel like if you
That's a little extra oomph to it.
yeah, but if you do black windows, there has to be some other element of black in the space. And I think a lot of times, at least with my clients, it's like, okay, we've
They're
got
not willing
black
to commit that
windows.
far.
Well, they do, but then they just don't know where to stop.
Yeah.
They don't know where. All right, we've got to
like,
be
black
pretty-
everywhere.
It's just
Wanna end up gold
it's
somewhere.
kind of like with gray and beige. You get stuck in this like. Everything is beige, and then you put a red pillow or a blue pillow on your sofa, and they're like, something just doesn't feel quite right. Well, it's because we've only got a blue pillow amongst, a bowl of oatmeal here.
That's
so
a good point.
if you only have one blueberry in a bowl of oatmeal, the only thing you're going to see is a blueberry. So I think it's kind of like that balancing act. It's kind of that balancing.
How can people find you?
Facebook, Instagram, my
What's
website.
the website?
www.simplesouthern.charm. And all the socials are the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great.
Nice and easy.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Latrice,
Thank you.
Jennifer, for joining me. And we will be back next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the T.A.R. Life podcast with top producing mega agent Erica Anderson. If you've enjoyed this episode or found the content to be useful or fun, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Visit our website at www.teamandersonrealty.com. We are actively serving the Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, and the coastal regions of North Carolina. If you're looking to sell a home, please contact Team Anderson Realty to set up an in-person or virtual consultation today.